Well, there's something that actually affects everyone in the economy. Talking about prices of petroleum product. At a point in time, we saw that nosedive of it going down at the pumps, and we were all excited. But all of a sudden, we've seen that uptick. It has been going up. It also takes a while for some of the OMCs to even respond by adjusting prices. But what are the real issues in the industry that has actually triggered this recent increment that we are seeing at the pumps? Has it got to do with just the cedi, crude prices, or the other things that are impacting the industry badly? Well, on PM Express Business Edition, look at rising fuel prices and some industry concerns that you, as a consumer, should be worried about. What can be done to actually ensure that the prices are stable, or indeed we are in for consumers to pay more at the pumps? Well, these are the issues that I'll be looking at on PM Express Business Edition as I engage all those who matter in the petroleum industry, from the consumer, to the marketer, to the bulk distributor, and the regulator of the petroleum industry. All these issues wrapped up on PM Express Business Edition. But before I let my guests join me in the discussion, I just want you to bring some data for you to appreciate what has happened in terms of the industry. Now, let's first start with crude oil prices. I mean, from January, we're looking at somewhere around $76.7 a barrel. It was going down. Yes, it was going down. And then also it came up to about $68.4 a barrel. We are bringing this because often we are told that the price of crude and even finished petroleum products on the international market plays a very critical role in determining the final price of that product that you pay at the pumps. Let's also bring you the trend in some fuel prices. It started somewhere in January around 15.6, depending on if you're looking at petrol or diesel, and you saw the trend. It came down to 12. We're all excited. We've seen that pickup. And if you look at February, look at March, April, May, June, it went down. We've seen that spike, and it's going up. Are we going to get back to that era of 20 Ghana cedis for a liter of petrol? Or we are just being worried of something or nothing at all? And so these are some of the trends that you'll be seeing on our board in terms of the prices of petroleum products. And then these are the issues that we're bringing to you on PM Extra Business Edition, as my guests will be joining me on Zoom and in studio as we talk about fuel prices and the concerns and industry concerns and how we can manage these things. All these things wrapped up on PM Express Business Edition. We'll be right back after this. Welcome back to PM Express Business Edition as we talk about fuel prices. And some will say it touches every aspect of the economy. And that's why on PM Express Business Edition, we're taking a dive into the industry, bring up some of the issues, and why we always end up seeing those prices on the boards of the various oil marketing companies. What are some of the concerns? Is it just about the cedi? Is it about taxes, margins, and levies? Or there are other things that are actually seeing prices go up? Are the players themselves breaking even? If my numbers are right, it could be having about 200 or more than that of oil marketing companies in the industry. And are they really breaking even or not? What about the regulator? Is it doing its job to ensure that you as a consumer, you're protected or not? Duncan Amwa is indeed with me here in studio as my guest on PM Express Business Edition. And also I'm joined on Zoom with that is the Chief Executive of the Chamber of Oil Marketing Companies, Dr. Riverson Upon. Also on Zoom is the Chief Executive of the Chamber of Bulk Oil Distributors, Dr. Kweku Ofori, and also the person representing the regulator, Director of economic management. I stand to be corrected. Regulations. Abbas Tasunti also joining me via Zoom as well. But Duncan, thank you for your time as well. But how are you doing?
We are fine. I'm sure everybody else is fine. The industry is fine. Your marketing companies are fine. And I would use the opportunity or the medium to say kudos to them. The data or numbers have suggested even higher than we are currently, but for most of them, it's been about competition, it's been about the consumer. It's also been about trying to get a sizable share of the market. So they have maintained prices even in times when the numbers were indicating an upward adjust. For this, I think that the oil marketing companies and the BDCs have been fair to Ghanaians on this occasion. You know, we'll come and bash them every now and then, but for a couple of weeks now, they've been quite magnanimous with the way they have handled pricing for the Ghanaian market. Although, like your intro rightly suggests, prices are beginning to rise. The concern is that are we going back to the
pre-January
2025 levels, and whether we should be worried? My answer is that we should be careful.
We could be getting there.
We could be getting there.
Duncan, I want to get the person representing the oil marketing company for some clarity on something. Dr. Robertson, thank you. You're joining us via Zoom. I know that you're caught up in a lot of things, but again, you've had time to join us via Zoom at this very, very important time. So, Doc, help me out. Why are your members not increasing prices as expected? We have crossed the first window for the month of October. If the numbers are right, Duncan, you will help me out. Is it almost 200 or even less than that? I stand to be educated or corrected. Why are your members not going up at the pumps?
Yeah, can you confirm you can hear me?
I can hear you loud and clear, Dr. Riverson upon.
Great, awesome. So we are very happy to confirm that price I expect to go up from yesterday. And obviously, you might be aware that most of my members of the chamber have increased prices from today. That means that it tells you the bit of delay in doing so. And like Duncan said, we've been at a point where price was supposed to go up marginally. This is because, you know, when price increased by 1 or 2%, mostly than not, two things happen. It's either most oil marketing companies might have bought products in the past and therefore being reluctant in putting on the burden on the ordinary Ghanaian, or like Duncan said, the competition is so high that you are forced to still maintain the price in order to sell. Other than that, what the regulator will tell you is that it's a deregulated market, and therefore the government will not tell you at what price to sell. At the same time, you are aware when oil, the petroleum prices went up, but we didn't have the effort showcased at the pumps in Ghana. I think about 4 or 5 windows passed. And this is due to the fact that, you know, we give a forecast, but the forecast needs to be actualized based on how much in reality the BDCs are selling to the OMCs. And then obviously also the availability of Forex for the BDCs to purchase the product. When we look at the resonating factors that affected this particular forecast that we see today, it has to do mostly with the, I'll say, crude oil product. That's, the crude oil prices that went up, I think, 1.6%, which is, again, very marginal. You get my point. At the same time, we saw the cedi depreciating by about 3%. And you're going to ask yourself why are you not feeling the 3%? Accordingly, because it's not only cedi that actually determine the price at the pumps. At the same time, my members have the flexibility to determine at what point to bring the changes at the pump level, sending notice to the regulator MPA or about their intention to increase so. But a day before this, that's the 30th of September, we saw some members indicating on social media their intention to increase the price.
Doc, I just want some clarity from you and help me out, not to even put anybody's name out or something, but help me out that as we speak today, because I did some checks in the morning and the afternoon, I didn't do this evening, have some of the oil marketing companies adjusted prices at the pumps as we speak now?
Oh, yes. Oh, yes. And like you said, I should not mention names, so I can confirm that some have gone up by 2% and 1.5%. And again, that's very marginal.
Okay, let me break that protocol. Since they advertise on their boat, help me out those oil marketing companies that have gone out.
No, we're not doing that here.
Okay. Okay, so go ahead. Yeah, you're making a point.
I will put it out.
Okay, don't worry. So you go ahead. Yeah, go ahead. Yeah. So they've gone up. Yeah, they've gone up. Okay, that is right by 2%. That is right. But Doc, help me out again here. Doing the window and the review, and again, you have better numbers than I do. We saw crude oil, even in some cases, coming down. More of a slight blip. The cedi's rate of depreciation, again, I stand to be educated, has slowed a little bit. Some are saying that, is it fair for any OMs to say that because of the cedi's performance and that marginal spike in crude oil and maybe finished petroleum products, prices should be going up this window?
Yeah, it depends on which margin you're looking at. Let's run through some analysis here. For the window in question, even before Abbas comes in, if you look at even from the floor price perspective, we saw an increase of 2% from the floor price alone. But let's go to how that comes to play. Crude oil price reversed a dip, and I'm surprised. I'm hearing what I'm hearing now, and increasing by 1.57%. From 67.39 to $68.45 per barrel. Okay. That's an increase. All right. So Brent crude is forecasted to even rebound to $70 per barrel due to the winter setup coming on board. And we all know that from October, November, we're not going to enjoy the same prices of crude oil products that we have enjoyed during the summer days. So in line with the incline in crude oil prices, international products, for example, for petrol, diesel, and LPG, recorded respective increase of 0.89%, 2.49%, and 3.37% respectively for petrol, diesel, and LPG. Now, let's go to the cedi. For the first quarter 2025, for October, the cedi continued to drop from 12.07 to 12.40, all right, per dollar. All right, so we already see 2.74% drop in cedi. At the same time, we've seen a 1.57% increase in crude oil pricing for the two windows that we're talking about. That is why we see the increase of petrol from 0.35 to 2.47 very accurate based on the dynamics that we find ourselves in.
And Doc, I'll come back to you very soon, but I get from your projection that based on the demand for products, we should brace ourselves for more hikes, even if the cedi was even fairly stable, coupled with the demand swift that has come in because of we entering into the winter season.
Exactly. And then if you remember, I think 3 or 4 months ago, the chamber predicted, and the numbers are there. It can never be wrong. We predicted a plateau for ice and plats. Therefore, we foresaw that any effects on the pumps in Ghana will be based on Forex. And that has been the case. Go back to our pricing outlook for the past eight windows. It's been because of city depreciation.
Interesting. Doc, I'll come back to you soon. Let me bring in another Dr. Kweku Ofori. He's the chief executive of the Chamber of Bulk Oil Distributors, those who bring in the product. Doc, I mean, in the past, we had issues about availability of Forex being a factor. Is it still a challenge? And there are some who also said that you have played a role in that decision by some of the OMCs to kind of hold on to prices. Are you making some gains at the back end there that you are not passing on to these OMCs? These are two questions in one, Doc.
Thank you very much, and good evening to you, Duncan, and our viewers and listeners. I think, judging from the numbers, and I always repeat this, if there is any particular commodity in this country that the selling is that transparent, then it's how we do our pricing formula. Like what Reverson is saying, you check from the data from my research team and other. You look through all the figures available. From our members' pricing, petrol went up for 1%. Other products, diesel, approximately 3%, and then that of LPG. So even if you are to do the cumulative impact of both the international pricing and then that of the CD depreciation, you realize that some our members have hold on some of the shocks that they were supposed to even pass on to the oil marketing companies because of unhealthy competition at our end. And it's something that we're trying to indicate to members how they need to run an efficient and a sustainable business model without necessarily pushing for the concept of market size and then also being the first to dispose of the product, whether it's making commercial or economic sense. That notwithstanding, you look at the exchange rate. As at the end of August, the exchange rate that we were using was 10.25. You buy dollars. You also go to the market to exchange the dollars. And then you even go on and do your projection that for even 1 month or quarter projection, nobody currently is selling dollar below 12.60. Almost all the banks that you deal with, even that is spot, those who are getting that for you, not to talk about other charges and other levies that are even pegged around 12.79. So when you look at all these assumptions, and sometimes you look at the numbers that some of the BDCs are selling to the OMCs, clearly people want to survive in there. And I'm glad that you made a point that the regulator is in there to protect the consumer. In any jurisdiction, the regulator should also be mindful to take into consideration the sustainable business model of any player within there. Because if we also don't practice an efficient and a sufficient business model, and there is a collapse, there is a serious ripple effect on the rest of the economy. And it's something that I think we all should be interested in knowing.
But Doc, let me come in quickly. But Doc, do I get from you that you are having the dollars you need to bring in the product as you speak now?
I think you cannot actually be too insensitive or ungrateful to Bank of Ghana. And Abbas know the numbers because we were both more or less copied on that email. You check from July, we had almost 300 million support from the central bank. It reduced a bit in August to almost about 190. That was from the central bank alone. And in September, the central bank really did well, exceeded over 300, almost $310 million through our banks that we bidded for. So on their part, they are trying as much as possible to ensure that they are able to use fuel prices to control inflation, as the IMF and the other team has projected that they want the year to end at inflation at around 8%. If that is to be achieved, then we still, as an industry, need to enhance our collaboration with the central bank to ensure that we have access to the dollars that come from the central bank, which is relatively considerate, and it enables us to pass on. So you could clearly see from the projection as to those who have benefited. And when you go into the ERDMS, you can clearly know how they've also passed on the pricing to the OMC. And the good thing is the competition that we're currently having. And you see the list of beneficiary, the state entity, BOST, Go Energy. These players have all benefited fairly. So when you are competing against all these state-vested interest entities within the space, you cannot afford to play any games.
Doc, Doc, just a quick one. I get from you, and I also get that thing from Dr. Revison as well about, competition we are observing. Apart from one or two players that might even have some state interest, majority of you are private firms. You have gone onto the market to borrow. Who is taking care of this cost that some of your members are said to be absorbing?
If you are very familiar with any commodity trading, there are times that when the market takes a dive, you receive some hit. And there are times that if you get your projections right, you can also make a gain. So it's like the normal graphs or the graphs that we do. It will even out. But this is where you really need to invest in a good trader, and then also a treasury department that are on top of the situation to be able to engage the market and know how to hedge. You remember the last time that I was in your studio, one of our members had hedged around the dollar for 16 cedis that he was going to pay somewhere May or June ending. But unfortunately for them, around that time, the dollar had come to around 10 cedis. But because he had locked in about 40 or so % of his dollar requirement, he was forced to cough that $60 million at 16 points. So basically, it was a situation that has gone against him. If the same participant had hedged for dollars and is due to pay September ending, and he hedged around 11, he should have made some gains to even out some of the losses that he might have incurred during those difficult or challenging seasons that he got his predictions wrong. So basically, there are multiple factors that will ensure that you are efficient and you are able to make some gains. Other than that, the competition will push you out of the market.
The competition indeed will push you out of the market. I'll be coming back to you soon. Duncan, quick one. I mean, do you get worried when you hear comments like the outlook is not that good? And I'll come back to the issues about the levies and the taxes, but just a quick one before I bring in the regulator. You get you worried as a consumer and as an institution that is representing the interests of consumers?
The truth is, we are not planning for our people. That's a sad reality. And so for us as a country, anytime either international shocks, right, hit us, then we pass it on to the trotro guy to say, go and pay. Anytime governments decide that there's revenue shortage or there's some revenue they need and they are taxes,
place the taxes on consumers,
then they fix the people to go and pay. Anytime the economy takes a battering or the local currency takes a battering, we place it at the all kinds of things we added. So we are just like a house or a home without a gate. There's no door. So anything at all enters. You heard Dr. Opong and Dr. Ofori suggest variously that the season you find yourself, it is likely prices would keep going.
Even if the city was stable?
Even if the city was stable.
So we should brace ourselves.
Yet we have no mitigating plan, nothing whatsoever. And so if you wake up tomorrow, they need more for heating purposes, and so demand spikes or goes up. What it means is that international markets will go up. What it means is that we'll be forced to pay more city to be able to pay for just whatever we are importing. We are simply not planning for our people. And that, for me, it's a source of worry. It's not just this government, the past governments. Nobody plans.
And we forget about the impact of petroleum prices on the larger economy.
You see,
it
George,
affects everything.
I
it affects inflation.
I love to be on platforms like yours because you followed that industry for a long time. Anytime you allow fuel prices to go up, you are simply derailing your own economy. And so it is not surprising the Gulf Cooperation countries would set a system in place to, sustain fuel prices because, one, I maintain and always insist that the government is the single largest consumer in the economy. Unfortunately, now they have succeeded in shelving some of their responsibility, which is to buy fuel for the police, the ambulance service, the fire service, through another levy that they have placed on the UPPF called
really?
Security Services March. So they no longer pay for the police.
When did that come?
George, when we get to the levies bit, we'll talk about it.
I will look at that. Hold on. Let me bring in the regulator, Abbas Tasunti. He's a director at the National Petroleum Authority. Is it economic regulations? I stand to be corrected, Abbas, and forgive me. Abbas, for you, as a regulator, and you look at the price, and I know it's something you always don't want to get in because we are operating a free market economy, and as long as one is not pricing below, is it the floor? I get it right. You don't come in. Are you okay sitting back and telling yourself that the price deregulation policy is working and we are doing or carrying out our mandate as a regulator to ensure that there are fair prices on the market?
Yes, I would say it's working. Why would I say that? I think when you started your comments, you showed a graph. And if you saw how the graph looked like, we started the year on a high, prices dropped at some point in response to the various factors that affect pricing, the world market prices, the exchange rate in particular, and then they rose again when the factors change. And this is a sign to you that the deregulation is working. And I think if you heard what Dr. Patrick Ofori said, one of the most transparent products, one of the most transparent pricing mechanisms we have in Ghana is a fuel pricing mechanism. And this is because the formula is very public. The regulator on our side, we publish what we call the daily price indicators. And these daily price indicators will show you the direction of prices and even the exchange rate. And these are the key factors that affect prices. We also always publish the export price of all the oil marketing companies. So as a consumer, you always know which OMC has changed their price even before you go to your stations. So when it comes to petroleum pricing, there's a lot of transparency. And for you to see the number of companies we have in the industry and the level of competition we have, that's the reason why you can be rest assured that the regulators' oversight of the industry is what is making the players also play to the rules. Yes, we have the formula we communicate to the industry. We have an eye of them. They have to inform us of their price before they change them. And also, if anyone goes against any of the rules, for example, you mentioned the price floor. And the price floor was necessary to address, if you heard Dr. Patrick again mentioning some of the unhealthy price competitions in the industry. That is to also protect as we protect the consumer, we also need to protect the players. So the price floor has been in place for over a year now, and it's been working very effectively. So for me, and where we sit as a regulator, we would tell you that the price deregulation policy is working very well. I think you also heard them talk about the fact that their margins are not very good at the moment. That is very true. Even though we don't announce or we don't regulate the price, I mentioned to you, we publish a daily price indicators. We publish this for others to also use that to know the direction of price. But in-house, because we monitor every company's pricing, we know where their margins are and whether they are falling or they are going high. So where we sit today, when you compare the margins of OMCs today, where the prices are today, to even when the prices were falling at the pumps, the margins today are lower. Same with the BIDEX, their supply premiums are a bit lower than they were some few months ago. So this is a sign that competition is working. Without this, or let's say if competition is not working, we would have expected that as businessmen, they would have just been increasing their margins and making more profits. So for you to see them also reducing their margins at some point to be able to compete, it tells you that the competition is working and therefore price regulation is working. But with the objective of price regulation, I think we are meeting them and we can only continue to improve.
Are you also worried about the health of the industry? In one breath, we get excited that, and let me even shift back again. We've seen something called competition, that some of the OMCs or the market companies are not going up when they're supposed to go up, and all those things. In one breath, as a consumer, I'm at a point in time, I'll mention the first, somebody was like, why are you asking me the prices have not gone up, you know? You know, and are you not a consumer? Are you not happy? But yes, I'm happy. But also, I'm happy that I will have that OMC there in a year to come to still serve me. As a regulator, are you also worried about the health of the industry and this thing called competition, and some are not going up when they're supposed to go up?
Yes, so we are very, very much concerned about that. First of all, these are our licensees. So we want them to stay in business and continue to serve the country and consumers. If you remember, one of the very thorny issues that came up last year, almost throughout the year, was the issue about the price floor. And the price floor was introduced to ensure that our marketers were operating at levels that is very healthy for their businesses. And we brought that in because a few years back, we had a committee that was set up to assess the price regulation policy. And one of the main issues that came from both the BIDEX and the OMCs was the issue of unhealthy price competition. They were calling that price undercutting. So after back and forth and after brainstorming, we realized that we needed to come up with a mechanism that ensures that all marketing companies were playing to the game or were playing fairly. If you know, one of the functions of the regulator is also to ensure that there's fair competition in the industry. So if other players are not playing fairly, then we need to come in. So we came with the price floor mechanism, which ensured that all oil marketing companies were selling at prices that were reasonable. Because like I mentioned, the price formula is so transparent that there are certain factors in there that apply to all oil marketing companies. In the deregulated era, the components of the price board that oil marketing companies have control over themselves is their margins. One is the price at which they buy from the BIDEX, which is negotiated, which the regulator knows because we monitor that through the ERDMS, the Enterprise Relational Database Management System, and also their margins, which we don't control. But after they've submitted their prices to us, we know what their margins are. So when the company is selling at an unrealistic price, we know that. And so for somebody to be able to sell below a certain level, which even excludes their margins, then it means that there's something untoward going on because you would have to pay all the taxes and levies to government. There are certain statutory margins in there that you have to pay to the statutory institutions. So if you yourself, you are selling at a price that after paying the buyback for the product, after paying the taxes and levies, after paying the statutory margins, you are still making a negative margin. Then as a regulator, we should be worried. We should be able to ask you questions. How are you surviving? And especially if this is continuous and it's a continuous thing, then it means that you are doing something else to be able to stay in business. And that's how come the price floor came in and we publish this every window to ensure that nobody is selling below the price floor. If you decide to have a 1% margin, and that is good for you because you are so efficient, that's so be it. But in the market that we have, we don't see people selling at those margins anymore. So I think to a large extent, Nkrumah will confirm to you that the price floor has come to address some of these concerns, where when others engage in illicit activities, they would want to sell at prices that are lower to take out others from the market. So the price floor mechanism has helped us to ensure that we are also concerned about the petroleum service provider. Remember, our act does not say that we should protect the consumer alone. The NPA Act mandates us to also protect the petroleum service provider. So whatever we do, we have to be concerned about them.
Abbas, help me out and educate me, quick one on the number of oil marketing companies that we have right now, and help me out on that one. And also help me out, I mean, the regulator has often been accused of not cracking the whip. And there are a lot of things happening in the industry. You talked about unhealthy pricing and all those things. Do you think that you're doing enough? Some are saying that you're not in terms of cracking the whip.
Yes, this is a constant thing. I think I'm not sure we'll ever get to the point where one will say that the regulator is perfect and is cracking the whip.
But are you doing the bit about cracking the whip?
Yes. There are several infringements that OMCs engage in every now and then, and Nkrumah will confirm to you every now and then they are there. Sometimes they are at our place even speaking for some of them because some of them even think in our cracking of the whip we are not being fair to them. So this is something we do on the regular based on whatever infractions that they've engaged in. So the regulator continues to do this, but like we say, there's always room for improvement. So we will continue to do that. So we will never sit back and watch on for PSPs to engage in activities and not do anything about it.
But about some will say that in other markets, we hardly hear the NPA name and shame. What is stopping you from doing that?
Well, naming and shaming is not the only way to ensure that.
But do you do that when
I think that has been done? That has been done before, but that is not the main way NPA. There's a lot that NPA does that doesn't come into the media.
Why don't you see that as a tool to again whip others into line? That if I know that my OMC, we are a fake oil marketing company, we put out there for selling bad products, for undercutting the industry, don't you think it's another market too that can whip everybody into line?
So like I said, I'm not sure we'll ever get to the point where everyone will be very, very satisfied, 100% satisfied with the mechanisms or the mechanism the regulator has in place to punish PSPs. For where we sit today, the mechanisms we are using are working. They are penalized. Stations are locked down when they do certain things. Licenses are sometimes suspended. So all these are in place.
Have you done that recently? Have you done that recently?
Like I said,
in return license?
Revoked license. We've suspended. We've closed down stations before. We don't have to necessarily revoke a license of an oil marketing company because one station has done the wrong thing. So when a station does the wrong thing, we close down stations and then investigate issues. And then when they are supposed to be brought back, they are brought back. So these are things that we do on the regular. You can imagine we have over 4,000 stations in the country, and we don't announce these actions in the media. So you may not hear about them, but it doesn't mean nothing is happening. And I think Nkrumah can confirm to you, like I said, the number of actions we take against stations or OMCs who do the wrong thing. So these are things we do on the regular, and the fact that we don't announce them in the media doesn't mean that the regulator is not doing anything to OMCs or stations who are doing the wrong thing.
In terms of the number of oil marketing companies, I mean, not the exact number, but what is the figure that we have right now in terms of oil marketing companies?
So if you put the oil marketing companies and the LPG marketing companies together, we have a little over 200 of them.
A little over 200. I'll come back to you, Abbas, about the bit about cracking that way. But Duncan as well, I mean, does that give you some assurance that we won't regulate in the media, but we are doing what we have to do as a regulator to equip everybody into line?
George, I've had some interaction with a team from the NPA, and I was blunt with them. Oftentimes when some of the players or PSPs or dealers flout the law, it is not against the NPA. It's against the trotro driver, the ordinary consumer who goes to buy fuel from some of these outlets, right? If the NPA only goes in to apply punitive sanctions and say that, oh, we've shut you down, pay a fine of X amount, the fine is paid, and then the outlet is back in business. The people who bought the bad fuel, what do you do to them? What do you do for them? So that regime has got to come to an end somewhat. You cannot continue to have a regulator that is more interested in business and money, right, at the expense of the consumer. If George goes to buy fuel and your engine has a challenge, right, you make a report, investigations are conducted, the station is found to have probably adulterated, or somebody is probably found to have done the wrong thing. Just going into sanction by way of asking them to pay a fine to the authority does not give respite to George. And so that regime has got to be looked at carefully. And then again, if a station, you've gone through your adjudication or arbitration process, and it's been established clearly that the station has done the wrong thing, it is good that you let the consumer know that A, B, C, or trace elements A, B, C were found in this suspicion of the authority is that something untoward was done. In view of this station has been given a suspended, right, license for 6 months. And so it will not be allowed to sell fuel. You use that process or period to not only, correct whatever you need to correct before allowing them, by which time the consumer would have been well informed. So when we see them come back to work, there's some confidence that some cleaning has happened. But the situation where we just go in, we pick samples, we go out there, do our own testing, we sit in our conference rooms, adjudicate the issue, and they pay fines, and they pay the fines. The people who bought the fuel out there, those who were inconvenienced, those whose engines may be smoking, those who have had to change plugs, not long ago, that mass issue bedeviled all of us. People had to keep changing plugs here and there. It came at a cost. Then the authority will go in and say, I've sanctioned, I've taken my fine.
So more compensation, actually.
Exactly. You should be more interested in the people who suffered, right? As a direct consequence of the station's, bad actions or inactions, right? You should be more interested in getting to alleviate some of the challenges they have. But it's become a situation where the regulator goes in, we apply a certain law that allows us to fine them. If they pay the fine, then we open and they get back in business. That era has got to come to an end somewhat, George. Your time is running.
But I will do that. But we'll do a quick one. The concern being raised by Duncan Amoah here is about that fact that the fines might not be enough. What are the remedies in place for the consumer who has been affected by the ills of that oil marketing company?
Yes, so I think Duncan has a valid concern. So, like I said, we are here to protect both the consumer and the PSP. So, there are some actions by PSPs or stations which affect consumers directly. And the authority has measures in place to address that. So, on a regular basis, when we get complaints from consumers that either a station's fuel quality has affected their engine or water from the station has affected their engine, there have been several of such incidents where, when we investigate and indeed it's established that the station did something wrong and it affected the engine of a consumer, there have been measures that have been put in place where they've been compensated. Several of such have happened. We have a complaint settlement committee which addresses this. Also, these days we have a consumer service department, a helpline that people call in to, almost 24/7 operational, where we take such complaints from consumers. So every now and then, these issues that affect consumers directly, they are addressed. But there are also some of the infractions from OMC that do not directly affect the consumer. I know indirectly they would affect the consumer, but we have also airlines in place for some of these issues that specify the kind of actions that have to be taken against them. So some of these fines are not just the regulator deciding that this is what I want to do based on who has done what. The airlines, for example, fuel marking, when you go against the quality, they are there. So that's what we apply. For the UPPF, for example, the airline specifies what is done to a station or an OMC when they go wrong. So it is not just the regulator being interested in the money, but remember also that the regulator is a state institution and it is there to protect the consumer. So some of these monies and fines are not fines basically where the regulator takes them to enrich itself necessarily. The regulator takes these fines as punitive measures against these companies or these stations. So the regulator is not just interested in money, but it is interested in playing its mandate to ensure that consumers are protected. So none of our laws, none of our regulations are cast in stone. And I think, like Duncan is saying, And if upon a review of this, and we think that adding the naming and shaming as one of the fines or one of the penalties, punishments for them is going to get them to do the right thing better than they are doing, then that can be added. But
Abbas, it looks like you don't see the
mind, it's not so as if that a station that did a wrong today, for example, is always doing the wrong thing, and regulator is allowing them to continue to do business. Like I said, we have over 4,000 stations. So every now and then, something wrong may come up at a station at a different place, and actions are taken. So it is not like a station in location A consistently is doing the wrong thing, and they are fined, and they continue doing it, and the regulator just takes fines from them, and is allowing them to do business. That's not what we do. If a station continues to do that, definitely that station will be allowed to operate.
But it looks like you don't see the power of naming and shaming to help in your regulations for people to keep up and do the right thing. But that's just for another day or two.
No, I'm not saying it doesn't help. I'm not saying it doesn't. I'm just saying that it is not part of the rules now. But if we look at it and we think adding that to the regulations will help, definitely our rules are not cast in stone.
I mean, let me come back to, there are still some underlying issues in this industry that impact on the final price. I mean, help me out again. In terms of recently, there were some issues with product supply and all the rest. Is that okay as we speak right now? Also, the issue about the laycan at our ports and how that is impacting on supply of products. Abbas, help me out on all those issues, please.
So the laycan, which you just mentioned for the uninitiated, the laycan is just a schedule that we use to plan importation of petroleum products into the country. So it's basically a date that says that company A or BIDEC A has been given 1st to 3rd October to discharge its product. That's what the laycan is. We have some facilities that are used for the discharge of petroleum products into the country. And it's all about planning. We plan petroleum products to ensure that we have availability at all times. And this is something we've been doing since the inception of MPA. So it's not a new thing, but every now and then there are several factors that can lead to one product's demand or supply going down. And we've had incidents a few times when some oil marketing companies have not had the products in the quantities they want from their suppliers. Mind you, some of them sign agreement with the BIDECs they want to buy from, or they pre-purchase. So if the BIDEC runs low on product, they may not get to load from them as and when they need it. But it doesn't mean that other BIDECs don't have products. So sometimes you hear some OMC say they don't have products. It doesn't mean there's a shortage. One of the activities of the MPA, the Economic Regulation and Planning Directorate, which I head, one of the things we do is daily monitoring of petroleum product stocks to ensure that we do not run out. And this helps us to plan the laycan that you mentioned. So we know who is coming at what time and what products will be discharged at what time. So this is something we do on a daily basis. And this ensures that we have no shortage of petroleum products. And that's why you hardly hear in Ghana that we have shortage of petroleum products.
Did you say, did you say we hardly hear about shortage
George,
of products?
I don't know the last time you saw Ghanaians queuing to buy food. When was the last time you saw that?
The fact that they don't queue doesn't mean that there was a production.
See, in countries that have shortage,
I'm just saying that the fact
in
that
countries
I do
that have
not
shortage,
queue,
you see that
there could be an instance where a BBC will fall on its reserves. And doesn't mean that there has not been a product shortage that hasn't hit consumers yet.
Like I said, our job as a regulator, we are more concerned about availability of petroleum products. That's one of the major mandates of MPA. Mind you, all the issues we were talking about, price and all of that. If the product is not available, we will not even be talking about price in the first place. We would have seen a hike in price just because of shortage. So we don't want the situation where we don't have products at all. That's why we plan. So we have a plan that ensures that we have continuous availability of petroleum products, and that's what we do by managing the laycan program.
Abbas, what is our current stocks levels for petroleum products to speak now?
As we speak, we have diesel stocks to last over 8 weeks.
8 weeks?
For petrol, we have over 8 weeks of diesel stocks. And we also have petrol over 3 weeks. Now, mind you, that this doesn't mean that because we have 3 weeks today, we've stopped importing. As we speak, discharge is ongoing. So, like I said, we have a laycan program that ensures as we consume, we are importing. So we never get to the point where we have completely run out of products before we import. So the laycan program ensures that today we have diesel discharging, the next time we have petrol discharging. So as we consume, we have products lasting. The way we manage our stocks to ensure we do not run out is that, like I mentioned, we do this on a daily basis. So on a daily basis, we know what our stock levels are. And if at a point, let's say we plan to import, we plan to discharge, let's say, diesel from tomorrow, and we realize that we are so low on petrol, we may ask the BDC that's coming to discharge to wait for us to discharge petrol rather, because we need that the most. So that's how we manage. But one thing we have to know, which has been one of the topical issues this year, and I think the minister himself has mentioned that, is the fact that we have one main facility for importation of petroleum products. That's the Orbit Boy, the offshore facility that we use. That is used to import almost about 80% of our imports. Now, this facility is what we've relied on for almost 20 years now. Meanwhile, our consumption has been growing, and we've kept relying on this same facility. So it has become a challenge for us to have as much as we would have loved. But we are still managing. But luckily, we've been told that the government has given approval for a new facility to be constructed. We are only waiting for the ministry to award a contract for the construction. But until that comes, we are managing both the ABP and the jetty to ensure that we have adequate stocks. And that's why, like I said, you hardly wake up tomorrow and say that there's no fuel and therefore we are going to queue for fuel. We are still having fuel to purchase. We all know countries where they are having shortages and the queue. I've personally seen that in other countries, but we've actually never had that in Ghana. And that's because we manage
8 weeks for diesel, 3 weeks for petrol. I'll come back to you. Duncan, does it give you some comfort? I mean, quick one before I go to Robertson. I mean, as a consumer, that we have enough stocks, 8 weeks for diesel, 3 weeks for... And does it mean that it's even cast in stone? They are still bringing in more?
You see, these are what you call operational stock. They are not, it's not your strategic stock.
Okay.
You don't have
and boss will come in then for that.
And that is where the Lacan issue became murky. You know, the institutions that have been so licensed, everybody has got their schedule. In fact, there was a time I had to fight one of the OMCs on their prices.
Yes, I know.
And then the concern from them was that, look, we are not even getting a Lacan to bring our own product. So we are forced to buy from the market already at, you know, whatever, X ref, X depot, X pump, right? Already with the markups on there. So if they add their margins, then their prices become uncompetitive. These were the real issues that confronted all of us. And look, at a point, the BDCs were clear that for damages that they had incurred between January and June, as a result of the Lacan bad planning or disruptions that occurred there, they had lost almost 70 million USD. And that 70 million USD would somewhat have to be calculated onto the cost of a liter. Because they cannot absorb those monies. It becomes an operational expense. And so I am happy that we may be getting to a point where whatever games
a new one will be coming in as well.
Whatever games we're playing with the Lacan, we seem to have halted that forthwith, and it looks like the industry is fluid now. But let it be communicated. Whoever is behind this should stop. Because you don't only disrupt the industry, but you cause problems for the consumer such that when they lose $80 million, $60 million, George,
they
will find a way to hit bottom. That is what you and I pay for at the point.
Duncan, yeah, let's come to the, and I'll go to Dr. Robertson very soon and also Dr. Ofoya as well very soon. But we had been complaining in the past about levies and taxes. You're telling me there's a securities and whatever.
Look, George.
No, help me out.
If I need to go through your price build up right now.
And I'll ask Abbas how come it ended up.
If I need to go through your price build up right now, Ghanaians will be upset. Ghanaians will be really, really upset. And will be upset to the extent that a lot of hidden stuff continues to sit on how much you pay for fuel at the pumps. My worry here is to the extent that some of these things, as we begin to get towards the pre-January 2025 price levels, as I speak with you, diesel is about 14, petrol is 13. Between pre-January 2025, we're doing about 14.99, right? At that point, we had even insisted that prices were high. We were fortunate it declined.
And my producer will help me on the document very soon. That gives us, James will help us pull up that document in terms of that price build up on the
Let me just go through them. So what we just recently added, the energy sector shortfall and debt repayment levy, it brings you to 1 cedi 95 pesos. Already we had some 95 pesos on the 1 cedi came to be added. Road fund levy still is 48 pesos. Energy fund levy, 1 peso, which goes to the Energy Commission. PDM has gone to 26 pesos. Bust margin, 12 pesos. Fuel marking, 9 pesos. Special petroleum tax, 46 pesos. And then the elephant in the room, UPPF, 90 pesos. The elephant in the room. UPPF, 90 pesos.
It used to be lower than
it was 45 pesos.
So
and
when
that's
did
what
it
was
jump,
used to pay for the transport operators, the big trucks, the haulage trucks. Then some way, somewhat, some sinister charges have been added on there. The sad thing is that these charges never even made it to Parliament.
Yeah.
And as I speak with you today, anybody buying fuel is paying for these charges that have been snagged into the fuel price build-up. And so, as we begin to, see rises in fuel prices, we would begin to have conversations around some of these things.
Which is likely to actually go...
It's going to go up,
Yeah.
again.
Yeah.
Already, like I said, diesel has done over 14, petrol is 13 something. So we are getting to the 14, 15 region. If you do one or two more adjustments, you could go to higher than January when the past government was leaving office, right? Yet these charges continue to exist. And people, rent seekers, are making money at our expense. If you take 90 pesos, you take out the UPPF, what the transporters are paid, the 45, right? It's a whooping 45. Security services margin, what I was mentioning.
When was that? Help me out.
Okay.
Educate, because maybe educate me a little bit. Because I didn't. When did it find its way onto the bill?
At a point in our development, the government was to pay for fuel for the police vehicles, the security, vehicles. And the government was owing repeatedly. And so the OMCs that supply fuel to these security service agencies were almost always in arrears. And government was keeping people's capital, right? So they thought of a brilliant idea that said, look, let's put something small on fuel so that the consumer could help pay for the patrols, police patrols. So as we speak, the fuel that the security services are consuming, it comes back to the trotro driver to pay for. It didn't end there. There was a discussion about, some automatic tank gauging contracts and blah, blah, and we needed money to pay for some contracts that the NPA itself had gone into. Some of us were thinking we were going to do about 3, 9, 6 pesos. Then it comes out some 28 pesos hiding somewhere. As I speak with you, anytime you buy a liter of fuel, you are paying for those hidden charges.
And Duncan, just a quick hold on. My producer has been able to pull up the tax build-up and the margins to put it on our screen for our viewers to look at. And this is there. Help me out if I put anything wrong out there. There's a component that talks about the energy sector, a shortfall levy, and that is over there.
That's the 1 city 95.
Is it the Doomsor levy?
Well, not so that has been added.
Okay.
The Doomsor 1
there's
city
a
has been added.
road fund.
That is already there.
Energy fund, special petroleum tax.
Yes, it's already.
Primary distribution margin, bus margin, fuel marking margin, UPPF margin.
That's where the issue is.
And then distribution. The security service thing is not showing up.
No, it won't show because it's been embedded in one of the taxes. But you see, even if you are getting money to pay for just the security services and the ambulance service, Ghanaians will say it's a public good.
Yeah, it's a public good.
But a situation where now you hear national security is also interested in drawing fuel. National security is
but doesn't it come under securities as well?
No, you see, security, it was well defined when we began talking about this particular thing adding on. Suddenly, you have the amorphous, because national security really is undefined. Anybody at all could be national security.
I can't even be one.
You can even be one, an operator. So as we said, if they are also getting in there, there will come a time that whatever we are collecting will not be able to pay for the fuel that is being drawn on. So we need to be careful. Then again, we are using some of these monies for premix, right?
Yeah.
That whole premix bit, we need to have a thorough conversation about it. The trotro driver would not have to continue paying for fishing expedition in this country. The time has long gone when, people go to do their fishing, they come back, they claim, what you call market value for fish, right? The fish is not sold to you at a discounted value or rate. Yet you tell the trotro driver, the everyday fuel consumer, to pay for fishing. In the name of premix.
Duncan, I'll come back to you basically about, what we need to do going forward, because there's a clear and present danger that even if the CD is firmly stable,
will still go up.
Prices will be going up. And how long can the commercial driver continue to...
George, a second before you see, we're saying these things so that government does not go to sleep. Because if it does, and fuel gets past 14, 15,
which is likely.
There's a high tendency for you and I to start asking government to take off the Doomsor 1 city that was, slapped on. That money may have a good use, right? But if you don't take care of the other, sneaky bits that you have added on here, you would simply be pushing the people to start asking you to take off the 1 city. So government should pay attention to the price build-up. There's a lot embedded in there that does not meet the eye. And I think that something could be done.
Quickly, let me bring in Dr. Ferguson upon quickly. Doc, for you, do you think that, listen, from your projections, the time has come for us to take a second look really at these margins, because we are likely to see prices going up, and we should look at these margins and levies?
Yeah, thank you. I believe from February this year, we were advocating for review of these taxes and levies and margins and everything that compounded about 22 to 24% of the pump price per liter that is sold to the consumer. Whereas the OMCs were making just barely 5% of the cost of or the price of fuel sold at the pumps. So ideally, you wonder where we stood as an industry, just as Duncan has alluded. Lo and behold, we had the 1 city to adopt. And then we don't have any. We don't have any. Sunset clause as to what extent are we going to pay for this, and then what not. But like Duncan said, should we hit the 16 where we were, or the 17 before coming down? What will be the way forward? I think that would be the job of all of us, including you yourself, and most importantly the regulator, to convene and then take a decision. But as to when this will happen, I think you and I are just going to wait and see how the price is going to be like in the upcoming windows.
From a marketer, if you look at these build-up, and Duncan has made an argument, which of them should we touch if there is a need for us to take a second look? Because it appears that conversation will come very soon. And these are elements that are out of our control. When demand starts going up, we get into the winter season, and even if the city is firmly stable, we will have to pay more for these products.
George, it's all driven by policy. Which one to touch, which one to touch will be the work of the regulator. But which one is really not playing the role that we want to see, and I think I've said it not once, not twice, is the fuel market needs to be relooked at. What is the impact of fuel market in the industry? Has it been able to solve the problem we have? Abbas can tell us. And obviously, like I said, the 1.95 CD that we're looking at as the energy sector debt recovery stuff, since there's no sunset clause, probably it's high time we went back to the drawing table to look at it. Because in an industry that is fairly and fully deregulated, we do really have a lot of taxes. And I was just this morning after a meeting with my board chairman, I was looking at the prices in our neighboring countries. Ghana is very expensive. Burkina, who is a landlord country, we depend on us to transport fuel, has a cheaper price than us.
It's sad.
Yep.
Doc, hold on there. Dr. Ofori, hold on there. About Asunti will take a short commercial break. I know you guys are joining from different time zones, but we'll be back as we look at the outlook going for and what we need to do. This is PM Express Business Edition. We'll be right back after this break. And welcome back to PM Express Business Edition. And guys, and Duncan, together with my guest on Zoom, I'm pleading with you for a part 2 on this because time is not our best friend right now. So I want you to have all you guys back in studio here for us to do a second part of this discussion. I know I have your word on the one, but as we try and draw the curtain down, quickly, I want you guys on the Zoom just to have your final words, and I come to Duncan here to close as well. So, Doc, in just a minute or two, for you, how's the outlook like for you going forward as we try and bring the curtain down on this? Robertson, quick one.
Yes, so with the
In a
outlook,
minute, yeah.
In seconds, actually, I believe that we've said it time and again that we are going to experience a bit of shaking grounds as far as the city still misbehaves. And already Dr. Patrick has made mention of forest issues and availability. With that notwithstanding, we should really engage with the necessary regulatory body, GRE, MP, to see how the impact of the necessary levies and taxes will not kind of put burden on the ordinary Ghanaian. The Chamber's first half report is out, and we are in constant discussion with MPA to address the concerns around the upwards volumes recorded in certain regions and certain members also. So I believe that healthy competition is important for the chamber, and I believe that the regulator will sign onto this kind of record.
But Doc, I said a second, but in 30 seconds, I look at the industry data. I mean, in other industries, when prices are going up, you see scale back. The numbers are looking good in terms of petroleum consumption, and I stand to be educated.
Yeah, I mean, you saw vast of the products. I mean, the entire volume increase that we saw of 17%. Vast of it comes from the fuel oil used for power generation. Indeed, we saw gasoline, gas oil also going up about 20%, which is very high, even for a first half. Without notwithstanding, obviously, moved from 17 to 10 at a point, and demand for industrialization also going up. So basically, it's a good sign when petroleum consumption go up, and I believe that even in the midst of energy transition and EV importation, and we have this hike, it's a good stuff. LPG grew by 5%, basically due to the transport sector and also the CRM at a point going up to certain regions that were not, and obviously LPG prices came down at a point in time for almost 3 to 4 months. So we saw the demand going up.
Okay, Dr. Kokofori, I'll let you have. Sorry, forgive me. That's why I'm pleading for a part 2 of this. In a minute, your final words, and also in terms of the outlook and the concerns about EBPF and all. But just a minute as we wrap up with you, Doc.
Thank you. I think as an industry, we need to push for certain reviews. The deregulation at the other end, at the upper end, has been very successful, judging from the reviews and the commentary and some research that we've done. Because had it not been the deregulation, you can imagine the amount of money that the government would have used to cushion and subsidize petroleum product, either be it FX losses or international price issues that the government would have stepped into injecting. And that amount obviously could have also taken out from some major infrastructure development or provision of education and good healthcare system that has been there. And it's in the light of that that we are pushing for fully deregulation up to the OMC level to ensure that whoever an OMC is should be mandated to pay for whatever amount and bring that level of efficiency to the transport delivery. So if maybe Wiafe oil marketing company and I want to invest in CNJ to transport my product from Tema there, then in that case, you will not have a UPPF that anybody can hide any figures or so within the frame like it's been done. Another point that as a country we need to also ensure, why subsidize for something that you cannot afford?
30 seconds.
It's about time that the subsidy that goes into premise should cease so that we can have some level of efficiency and then quality product out there, because most research and every indicating shows that the premise are not even getting to the fishermen. And if you are not careful, it will end up in the filling stations for you and I to buy. And then we having our
thank you, Doc. Let me bring in Abbas for you to have the final times note on our side, and I'll have you in studio for a part 2 of this. But let you have the final words as you try and wrap up, Abbas, and be in a minute if it's possible.
All right. So as a regulator, we've heard the concerns. I think the good thing is that early this year, when the Minister of Energy and Green Transition was appointed, he set up a committee that is made up of several stakeholders, including Riverson, Dr. Ofori himself, were all part of this committee. I was on the committee as well. And the work of this committee was to review the whole petroleum downstream industry and make certain recommendations to reform the industry. And so the issues about the EPPF, the fuel marking, all of them have been looked at. Several other issues have been looked at. The entire industry was assessed. And I think I'll speak just on 2. So if you look at the EPPF, for example, the concerns that have been raised, we discussed them thoroughly. And it was concluded that this EPPF is very important. In fact, other countries have done their research and they want to implement that. I think the concerns about the EPPF have been about the prudency and ensuring that the margin is not increasing more than it should be. So the issue about prudency, I think is something that I'm sure the minister will ensure that the recommendations that we made will be looked into. But then we ask ourselves as a country, is the EPPF still necessary?
And transparency.
And it's been agreed that it's very, very important for the country. So we should rather focus on ensuring that, like Doc has just said, there's transparency, there's prudence in the management of the EPPF fund. That is very important. Fuel marking, before we introduced fuel marking, adulteration in the industry the failure rate was about 32%. Today, it's just about 2% and even less sometimes. So if you say that fuel marking is not important, that is something that we should look about. It is helping us to ensure that we get quality petroleum products at the pumps.
Thank you.
But on a lighter note, my friend Riverson got the information that fuel in Ghana is more expensive than in Burkina Faso. And you can just visit.
We'll have a part 2 of this, Abbas. I promise you. We'll have a part 2 of this. Duncan, 30 seconds. Sorry, 30 seconds.
Nothing more useful to add except to say that the assumption that everything on the price build-up is important is wrong. We need to do a thorough review of that pricing build-up. There's a lot of waste, rent-seeking activity on there that is not helping the
Duncan, we will do a part 2. This is PM Express Business Edition, and I know there'll be debates still in your homes and offices about how best can we protect the consumer and ensure that there's fair prices out there. But it looks like you may have to brace yourself for more hikes at the pump. This is PM Express Business Edition. Have a great day.